So we're here today to interview Chris. He was the National Association of Jewelers Rising Star of the Year winner a couple of weeks ago now, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So welcome.
Thank you so much. No, I'm happy to be here.
How did it feel to win?
It was amazing. I was genuinely massively surprised and honoured to have been chosen, but I was in disbelief, to be honest. I mean, you can't tell from the video. I mean, I was out of my chair very quickly. But,
In case I made a mistake.
yeah, no going back. But yeah, no, it was amazing. Genuinely, like, so far has been one of the greatest opportunities I've had. In the last couple of weeks, I've had amazing opportunities to network and talk to people, and just even like opportunities like this that, quite frankly, would not be happening if it weren't for me entering that competition. Like, it's mind-blowing to me, to be honest. Like, I genuinely couldn't have foreseen it coming.
So tell us about your background. Why jewellery? And when did you realise that making jewellery was actually what you wanted to do as a hobby and then into a career?
So it started for me in lockdown. So before doing jewellery, I'd never done anything creative, right, at all. I'd done a little bit of graffiti, that was it, and like when I was younger. And other than that, never done anything else. I didn't really know I was going to be into like the artistic side of things, but I used to do a lot of swimming and things, so I was always in that mindset of like, okay, I'll like athleticism and school and da. And it was only in lockdown when I was really forced to just kind of mill over all the spare time I had. I was like, I need a hobby. I really just I need something to do. And I was at uni initially doing music business and events management, so it was putting on raves, but not actually putting on raves because it was lockdown. And after a year of that, I was just kind of, I don't know, I was just, needed that hobby and was just looking for something to do.
Like a creative outlet.
Yeah. I had all this spare time and I was just sitting in my room watching Netflix. Like, there was nothing else to do. And I was like, what can I do from home? I found myself literally just before bed watching lots of like jewellery YouTube videos, and it started off with like the Bobby White and things like that, the just people making these crazy pieces. I was like, how can you even, like, I couldn't fathom even doing that. And then it was literally one day I sat down and I Googled what do I need for a jewellery setup or something along those lines, and I stumbled across your YouTube video with the full breakdown of the jewellery setup, right? I went from there, and then I just spent my last student loan payment, because I was still living at home and I was going to uni once a week because that was all that was on. And I was like, well, I've got a student loan coming in. I was like, I'll just buy everything I can. So that's exactly what I did. I bought all my basic tools, my saws, my files, my like blowtorch, solder, flux, pickle, all that starter checklist pretty much. And then took over my dad's shed.
Did you ask him?
It's easier to ask forgiveness than it was to ask permission in that case. So, I really just took over the shed, and then eventually my parents were like, "Oh, you're really kind of into this." And my initial plan was to just kind of do jewellery on the side and finish my uni degree. So I was like, well, no jeweller needs a qualification. Like, no one knows that a jeweller has a qualification. They just look at what they've done, and if they like their jewellery, they buy it, right? It was maybe 3 weeks after that, if actually I'm missing a bit. So I found the course at Birmingham Uni because I spoke to my sister. She misspoke in a conversation. She just happened to mention Birmingham and jewellery in the same sentence, and that day I went home and Googled it and found the jewellery course. I had no intention of doing jewellery like full time. It was just finish uni and then see what happens with it. I probably milled that thought over for a couple of days, and I just went, you know what, if I'm going to be doing jewellery in all my spare time, why don't I just do that as my uni thing? I was like, I'll have all this free time on my hands. I applied, and 3 weeks later I was moving to Birmingham and starting the course. But it was the best decision I've ever made. It was one of those things where it's like, you don't even realise like you're walking through those doors that are gonna like lead to the rest of your life. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it was that was the start for me. Really, was just kind of starting in my shed and then just going at it. I realised I loved it and just really went for it. And
so I started in my parents' garage, and exactly what you said. Yeah, there was a door, the semicircle, put the door into place. My father came home and said, "What's this?" Oh, this is ask for forgiveness afterwards, and it works well.
Yeah,
it works
yeah,
well.
it was the best way to do it because like they can always say no.
Exactly.
Worst case they can do is shout at you, but it's already there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. You moved to Birmingham to do that. So how far?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Hastings, well, Battle, which is just outside of Hastings, so south coast. Moved halfway across the country, I guess. But it was a big leap. I mean, I left all my friends, no one
it's quite
I
a
knew
step,
was.
isn't it?
Yeah, but at the time, and like, okay, looking back on it now, it's not something I look back on much, but I remember, like, just in my head, I was like, I don't know if this is the right thing to do. Like, I was meant to be moving in with my friends in Bristol because we were going to move from our uni in Brighton, transfer to Bristol, and then I was going to basically manage them. They're both DJs, so down the music route, that was kind of where I was going. And yeah, I obviously I binned that off like 3 weeks before we were meant to go and move in together, and I don't really know what possessed me to think that was a good idea, to be honest.
It's just sometimes we overthink things, don't we?
Yes.
And sometimes if you know what you want to do and you can make it really simple for yourself and do it, exactly.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I did. It's kind of the route I've always taken. It's like, even to get here, it's like if I've enjoyed something, I've always found that's if I just do whatever I'm enjoying doing, I will end up doing something I enjoy doing, and it works.
So, Chris, what's your advice for anyone looking to start making jewellery as their job?
Genuinely just start. It was 2.5 years ago, I started in my shed watching your guys' YouTube videos, and genuinely just starting somewhere, watch YouTube videos, find whatever it is you might want to try and do, and then just give it a go. Like, it's gonna be bad the first time you do it, regardless. Like, it's always gonna be terrible, but the point is, it's like, when you do it the second time and you look at it and you go, oh my God, look how much better that is than when I did it last time. That's the feeling that you're looking for. You're not looking for that first time, like, oh my God, I'm really good at this. Like, that's not going to happen. Yeah. But yeah, it's just start small, like work your way up and build your workshop slowly, buy the tools you need for each job, and then just go from there.
One day at a time.
Then. Yeah, and it's not like some massive, like, oh my God, I have to spend £10,000 on all these tools. Like, no, you don't. You can spend a couple £100 to get yourself a saw and some solder and some silver, and you're good to go.
You don't need all the paraphernalia that back in my day, the tool catalogs used to show you.
Yeah, no, you don't. And it's really like, if you can make do, as long as you get the same result, it really doesn't matter.
So let's talk about formal higher education route versus the self-taught route. Yeah. So what do you think are the pros and cons? Because I've had a formal education, but purely in design.
Yeah.
Nothing as regards to jewellery.
Okay.
But you've had the formal education when it comes to the jewellery.
Yeah, so...
And also you've had the self-taught as well.
Yeah.
So give us some ideas about the pros and cons.
What I would say is, in all honesty, they are very similar routes, only because it's, as much as say you go off to a university to do jewellery, it's still a university. It's the same concept that you're not going to be spoon-fed everything. You are only there for like 2-3 years. It's not going to be, they don't have the time to force you to learn everything. So it's what you make of it, right? In the same way that if I'm off in my shed, it's what I make of it. If I go down into my shed every single day and I sit there really trying hard learning how to diamond set or polish or solder or whatever, if I actually go down there and put the hours in, I could come out better than half the people that go to a university. But that's only because those people that went to the university don't put the time in at the university. So it's a great access to facilities, but also I think it's important to remember that, okay, you might think you start one of these courses and you're going to come out a master jeweller. It's not going to happen, right? An apprenticeship is 5 years. They have 3 at the most. They can't cram everything in. But if you go in there knowing that and thinking, actually, I just want to come out here and learn as much as I possibly can in this time, you'll come out there and learn a load of skills because you have this access to all this equipment and these amazing people that can give you some great knowledge. And you can flourish, like you can do well. But you have to, it's really on your own back.
This approach then, isn't it? Because what you said right at the beginning was it's only 2 or 3 years, isn't it, uni? And I don't know anybody who's been to uni and regrets going to uni. I don't know anyone who's regretted their education. But equally, like you said, it's only 2 or 3 years. And really, we're all lifelong learners, or we should be if we want to do better all the time. So that's right at the start of your career, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, no, 100%. And it is just the foundation.
Yeah.
And I think some people expect that. I know when I went from, say, working in my shed, I then went from working in my shed to get a formal education on jewellery. But it's not an apprenticeship. And I think that's what a lot of people think it's going to be like. It's not sitting in someone's workshop while they hold you to their standards. It's being told what the standards are and then saying, produce pieces to this standard. But you have to really keep yourself in check.
You got to put the work in.
Yeah, exactly. It is. It's the start. It's kind of. I'd equate it almost to how with college you go to college to kind of get an idea of what maybe you want to do later on in life, right? When you go to like a higher education like jewelry school, you go there to figure out what maybe you want to do in the jewelry world. It's its whole world. There are so many random things in this industry that you could do that you might enjoy. Yeah. You might go in thinking, oh, I want to be a stone setter, and go, actually, I want to do casting, right? Like you really have no idea until you experiment with these different fields, and that is what I would say is the biggest benefit to the higher education is that you get to play around and like, see what different things are and what maybe you might enjoy as opposed to what you definitely are going to.
So your social media and photography is really slick. How do you manage your online presence? Do you have a strategy? Do you schedule posts, or is it more of an organic, off-the-cuff sort of?
Organic's a nice way of putting it. I would say chaotic, to be honest. I was saying to Andrew earlier, when I'm at the bench, taking photos is the last thing I think about. But it's because, all in all, I'm a jeweller. I'm there to make jewellery, and I struggle to then have that part of my brain kick in and go, video this, video that, video this. In an ideal world, I have this layout in my head of, okay, roughly how I want my socials to be laid out, how I want to post things. Say, I have a pattern that I follow when it comes to if I'm producing a big piece, I'll take photos throughout the CAD stage, I'll take photos throughout the cleanup and the casting and each different section, and then when the time comes, I tend to put out the finished piece, and I'll try to compile the process afterwards if I can, and then that way people can see it. But the other thing as well is, so when I was at uni that year before, we did a lot of marketing stuff because it was music business and events, and the whole music business is marketing music. So there's a point they got across was that building the hype around your posts and launches when it comes to your pieces is super important. You can't just expect people to just tune into your Instagram and go, oh my God, look at that. Right? It's if you post on your story 2-3 days in advance or 2-3 weeks in advance and you're like, oh, look what I've got coming. Someone will see that post, and say you then don't post about it for 2 weeks, there are still those people that saw that post. They remember they saw that post and they're like, where is that? And they'll check back, and then you do that enough, when you do drop that piece, you've got a load of people that are checking back and going, oh my God, look at that. Oh, he's actually made that piece. And it's like building the hype around certain things. Because if you don't, you're just chucking content into the abyss and no one's ever going to see it. That's really about the only kind of guidance I follow. But other than that, it's just do it and try and have fun with it and put out what you made and do good work. That's the biggest.
I think so it's quite a relaxed approach to it, which is good because it does speak to us, or speak to the person looking at it about you, and it represents you very, very well.
It's like I'm not trying to be too on top of it. I'm not a social media influencer, and I'm not not a mate. Yeah. But it's I'm not gonna be super all over it because there's no need to be.
You can only be yourself.
Yeah. It's like if I spent a whole day of my week sorting out my Instagram and editing and making posts and stuff, I would get I'd get a whole day's worth of stuff not done. Yeah. Right? All the jewelry stuff that I'm doing that I do post just wouldn't go out there.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to try to like maintain those things. As simple as it may seem, it's only a little bit of time that you take out of, say, putting into your socials, but that little bit of time pays off so much. For me, in my business, it works out so much better.
Yeah, but it like I say, it looks organic, and I think if it looks contrived and overdone, it doesn't have the same effect.
Yeah, and it's not very like personal, you know, like one of my shooters said to me is that I am Chris Lewis Jewelry and created by Chris, like that. Right, I don't have a massive company behind me, and if you start pumping out, you know, these almost like systematic posts that are all super clean and that the same captions, you know, you don't have that element of, oh, this is my jeweler and they are doing, like, you know, I'm working with this person, whereas I work one-to-one with my clients and like hands-on. It's not you're talking to my sales team on Instagram and then the message gets forwarded on. It's you're talking to me and it's me. It's not someone else. So yeah, that organic kind of me chaotically managing it does play in my favour a lot of the time, I think.
Yeah, I think so too, definitely.
So we've seen you an awful lot on social media. You've been doing some sort of major exhibitions.
Yes.
How did they come about?
Yeah, so when it comes to exhibiting, some of these opportunities came from university, and that obviously with uni they have certain things they take you to and that they plan to go to every year. They're great. That's another thing through the higher education route. It's a great opportunity for those little bits and bobs. Like you get opportunities. There's no way as an individual designer I could walk up to someone at New Designers in London and go, right, can I exhibit here, please? Yeah. It cost me an arm and a leg, and quite frankly I couldn't do it because it's just for students. But you see my point. Yeah. Other thing is competitions, and so like the NAJ Awards, it's a case of just put yourself forward. Genuinely, just put yourself forward, because I can't stress it enough that, okay, as much as there might be jewelers out there that are a million times better than you are, they might not be entering these competitions. And all you need to do is you stand out against the crowd, and you've just kind of got to put yourself out there, because no one's going to know who you are otherwise. And otherwise you are just another like face on social media, or just a name. And that's for me so far has been one of the biggest things. Like I was at New Jewels last November, maybe September, one or two. And that was just a good opportunity. It was my first opportunity to kind of put a face to my name and for people to actually say, oh, this is Chris Lewis, and then actually in people's heads, as opposed to just being that name that pops up on an Instagram feed, which is what, you know, which is all you are until you kind of get yourself out there. But yeah, competitions, things like that, I think that's really the best way to go about getting things at the moment, and just building your contacts, because people will, at some point, I'm sure, give you a shout to exhibit for things if you keep your name out there.
Because it is easy, isn't it, to just kind of live digitally?
Yeah. But a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And that's where I think...
too easy.
Yeah.
And it makes you maybe a bit shy then when you have to go out and face people.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of it's a good edge to have, is that there are a lot of people out there that, will thrive on social media, but if you can even remotely hold your own in like a room and in a conversation, you'll go far. You know, people really seem to appreciate that, and it works out. So definitely.
So we see you on Instagram, but are there any other social media channels that work for you?
I am on Snapchat. I'm looking to get into the YouTube kind of scene and get that sorted, but
because we're on TikTok, that's our new thing.
Yeah, TikTok is the one that
I'm not sure we belong on TikTok.
This is what I was saying. I was literally having this conversation with Andrew earlier, is that TikTok is like, for me, it's like learning a whole other trade. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's even like with you guys in the YouTube stuff, like I find it so hard to fathom that at some point you were like, I'm going to figure this out. Right? It is a whole other world. It's videography. It's not making jewellery. And I just...
But then once you've mastered that, it just becomes another thing that you do.
Yeah, exactly. Right now I just can't even fathom taking the time out to...
There's so many different channels now.
Yeah.
Well, Threads? Are you on Threads yet?
Just got on Threads. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I think it's...
I love the fact there's no hashtags.
I don't know. I haven't even explored it yet.
Day one, I'm always late to every party. So day one, I was like, I'm going on Threads.
Yeah.
I'm on Threads.
That's kind of how I was. But I'm sitting there. I'm like, I don't know what this is. From what I understand, it's basically like Instagram, Twitter.
I think it's more of a conversational thing.
Do you think?
That was my interpretation of it, and so far I haven't seen any people doing silly dances. I haven't seen any cat memes.
I'm gonna have to have a little dig through there then.
So yeah, it's so far so good.
Yeah.
So early days, but we'll see. It's like a forum-y type feel, I think.
But no, to round off though, Instagram is really the place where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Website will be live some point later this year, but it's I'll define a date when the date's ready. Yeah.
I expect you've got a nice variety of tools at your disposal. Name me 3 tools now that you could not do without.
Number one has to be a microscope, regardless. Microscope is number one. Without that, my work wouldn't be anywhere near the quality that it's at now. If it looks good under a microscope, it looks even better without it. And yeah, getting a microscope, okay, especially so I go very heavy on the stone setting. I'm sure you guys know. But when I got a microscope, it really just takes it from that here to really up there. Like it's drastic. It's the first tool purchase I made that really changed the quality of my work. Number 2, it's between a couple of things here, but number 2, I want to say polishing machine, purely because so as much as you can polish with a micromotor, and when you're learning, it's so hard to get a good quality finish and polish on a piece with a micromotor or a Dremel or whatever it is you're using, because it's not covering that entire surface. When you're using the polishing machine, especially when you're starting out, it gives you the ability to think about one less thing, and you're just kind of you're polishing the surface, but it allows you to build the understanding of what you're doing, working through the compounds and taking out the scratches and making that surface nice and flat. So when it comes to the day where you do decide you're going to polish something on the micromotor or whatever, you have the understanding of what you're doing, how it works, and the only thing you're then thinking about is maintaining the quality of that surface, not not just going at it haywire and making dents and divots and Tool number 3. Because I want to say my engraver, but this is the thing. This is where I'm conflicted, because at one point I didn't have one, and I used to hand push everything, and so I don't feel my engraver system deserves a top 3 spot. But my pendant motor, however, I think definitely does. My pendant motor, I mean, I drill holes all day, every day, and without it, I'd be lost. I would be lost. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing with that one. But yeah, it's just so versatile. It's like a micromotor is great for actually drilling holes, but terrible for opening them up, because torque-wise, it just doesn't have the torque that it grips. But yeah, a nice Fordham pendant motor is the one for me. Yeah.
Talk me through the process of this amazing CLJ pendant, and how long did it take you to complete it? Because that's quite a complex piece.
It was a long job. It took all in all about 2.5 months, start to finish. That was in and around me. Like I sorted it around other pieces and stuff, because a job like that, in all honesty, once you're done with it, it's like, get it away from me. Like I don't want to see it anymore. Like it takes so long. So the way I start a piece like that, and this is kind of my process, is I will pull out my iPad and I will go on Procreate and I'll just sketch until I've got something I like the look of, an idea that I'm sound with. I'll then just try to develop that as much as I can. I'll put in like all the shadows and any little details that I want to put in, and then I forward that onto one of my few CAD technicians. So I've got a handful of people that I work with really closely that I can send a piece through to, like just a sketch, and I can sit there with them and coach them through how I want like my stones spaced, where I want things, like how I want, say, at the edges of that pendant, for example, how I wanted the edges rounded. That was something that like had to be communicated at first, because when I drew it in the sketch, I have the letters and I've got this nice pink border, but I'm not the best sketcher in the world, so trying to show the curves and the beveled edges I struggled with. But I'll then sit there with my CAD guy, he did the first version, and then I was like, okay, now I want to bevel all these edges, and then I want 3 rows of stones, I want these borders in the letters here, and I'll go through all those kind of measurements with them. Then in that way I end up with a print and a casting that is to my liking, because it really depends on who you're working with. Like every setter or every craftsman has a different like ideal for what their piece comes out like. So I'll get it out, get it casted, then it's polish and clean like cast pieces, the same way it would be with anything else. Just get it all nice and shiny. Assemble it. So it came in 3 pieces. Yeah, 3 pieces. I had my bail, I had the front plate, which this was pre-cast with prongs, so this had all the prongs in place.
Yeah.
So that's all come out nice and clean. I put that in a magnetic polisher, so that gets in all the little spaces and gets in between as many prongs as possible without me having to sit there and even think about doing any of that. Clean out the back and the inside, laser everything together. At that point, you then just got the plate and you've got the bail and it's all plain. Like nothing it's just nice shiny prongs. I then just go at it, drill out all the holes, separate all my prongs and get my stones in it.
You make it sound so easy.
Oh yeah. It's the breakdown. It's basically, I mean, the less nice way of saying it is it's drill 1,500 holes, and then split whatever that is times 4 on the prongs, and then put in 1,500 odd stones, and then bead how many odd prongs that is.
Wow. How long did it take?
I think actual time-wise, all in all, I want to say about 250 hours-ish.
Wow.
Somewhere around there.
So we know you like black diamonds.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about this, and I'd love to see you use more of them because I absolutely love black diamonds. I love the mystery, I love the drama, I love the fact they're different. What is it about them that you like?
Okay, so from a setter's perspective, it really started for me. I think I saw someone setting them, and it was the part of the video was at the end they tipped the object they were setting, and you, because of the black diamonds, because they just, you know, they absorb all the light. I don't know. Because you just see the tables, when they hit the light, you really see like the tables hit the light and it's clear what's going on. Most people, when they look at a stone, they think, oh, shiny. When you see a black stone, you see the facets of the stone, you see what's reflecting the light up into your face.
Yeah.
It started for me as when I was trying to get better at setting, it meant that I could clearly see when my tables were lined up over like a curved surface, or whereas it's really hard to tell. Like your setting can look really good with white stones, but it's because it's with white stones and they're masking a lot of your like mistakes. Yeah, your imperfections. And so black stones, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna give it a go. Like we'll see how this works out. And I just found after a couple of practice pieces, like I really like using these. And yeah, they're different. They stand out. Like they shine, but they're not too in your face. People don't see them often. It's like I say the word black diamond, and people are just like, what? What do you mean? But yeah, you get black diamonds, and they look awesome.
They're cool.
Yeah,
They do look good, don't they?
Yeah, especially pave set, they just glitter, don't they?
Yeah.
I should say each table reflects that that bit of light.
Exactly, and it's more obvious to, especially an untrained eye, what that is like, and you can see, and go, oh my god, that looks so cool. But yeah, that's why, and I mean, I'm definitely going to be using them more. I've got a few more pieces like planned that are going to.
Good, we look forward to seeing that.
They will be out.
Absolutely. So we know that the pavé is your main thing, and your website is under construction at the moment. What are we going to see on your new website? Is it going to be pavé, or are you going to branch into something different?
It's going to be so I'm going to have on my website, I'm going to have 2 kind of sections. I'm going to have like a gallery section, which will show all my one-of-one pieces that I've done over the course of my career. Because a lot of my pieces are one-of-one, and you know they're not going to be something I can list and just go, right, yeah, have it, go buy one of these. I want to make sure there's that exclusivity still. So there'll be that gallery section, but then there will also be the bulk of my website will be my stock collections, my like about pages, you know, telling you like who I am, where I came from, and stock-wise. So I'm trying to go for some more commercial pieces. I know that your everyday consumer isn't spending £2,000-3,000 on a iced out ring. So I've tried to make some pieces that are less stone set. They almost all involve stone setting in some way. There are a handful of plain pieces, but stone setting is really my thing. So I'll try to carry that on through. But we've got a few pieces I've got one on, like my bracelet. I've got my CBC box clasp bracelet. But I've tried to play with like certain things. So, you know, I've got my own custom mechanism in my lock, which has my logo, the
That is
slots
so cool.
into itself, and then pops shut. That's in Chinese.
Isn't it cool?
Yeah.
But a few pieces like that, and it's like as much as I'll have the classic kind of like your Cuban bracelets and stuff, they're unique in the sense that, you know, I'm applying my branding and I want to make sure that they are that little bit, you know, they're mine. It's not something you can just buy anywhere, and that's kind of the aim. But it's ranging from 150 up to 10,000 on some of the pieces, if that's what you're trying to spend.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So obviously Pave again is very popular. What is your inspiration when it comes to your designs for Pave?
When it came to like my designs overall, it was a lot of the bigger American jewelers. In fact, you know what? Take a step back. Like I said earlier, I started out watching people like Bobby White on YouTube.
It's amazing, isn't he?
Yeah, but genuinely, it was me. I found it satisfying to watch before I fell asleep, because it would just be music and someone just doing something and making something look cool. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't a lot of talk. It was just seeing someone do something. I very quickly realised, I think, even when I started, I was like, I think I want to set stones. Like, one of the first things I did was try and set a stone, and it just kind of blossomed from there. But there's a lot of big jewellers, so people like Stephen Webster, Bobby White. Out in the US, you've got people like Alex Moss, he's fairly new on like the jewellery scene. We'll say new, but he's just blown up, does some crazy pieces. They're all very like gothic and iced out. Like Johnny Dang and all, there's all these massive jewellers, and they were kind of like the inspirations for a lot of my work. But again, when I say I have no design process, I say inspiration, but it's more that I know it made me know that I like a lot of stones. I like the iced out pave look, and I very quickly realised that you can just do that to anything and make it jewellery. Like, for example, I did my lemon slices, which are just a lemon slice, but it's set in stones. And I mean, I love them. They look great. Everyone loves them. But they're, you know, as a concept, it's not like I spent days and days and days designing them. I can't lie to you. I thought, all right, fruit slice with stones, that'll look great. And you know, so that was really the premise for how it all blossomed into where I'm at now. But I think I still got a long way to go figuring out my design process and my style.
Do you have any jewellery that you wear regularly, and what's the story?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've got my bracelet obviously, but these are my daily wears. So this is a signet ring that my mum gave me. It's got an intaglio in it. Yeah. I think that was her granddad's ring actually. And then this was my 18th birthday present. In fact, I don't know if I can even get this off. There you go. But that's just my super thing. This is the thing. I felt, once I got into making jewellery, I was feeling awful for my parents. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe you spent that much. And I was like, I could have made one. But yeah, no, these ones will probably never come off my hands. That's the thing. It's once I could make. Okay, I remember thinking I really wanted a big iced out ring, but the second I made myself a big iced out ring, I was like, I'm not really that bothered. I was like, okay, I've got it now. Like, I found the sentimental things are a lot more, you know, like it just feels nicer to wear. I panic a lot more when I don't have these on, or like, okay, I lost my rope chain. That was my nan's, and I remember I lost it one morning. It was in my hoodie. It was from the night before. I'd taken my hoodie off, and it was in there. But I tore my room apart. I mean, I spent that entire morning. I was like, it's in here somewhere. I know it's in here somewhere. But yeah, it's always nice. In that same respect, it's always nicer to work on a sentimental piece. Like, you know, when someone, it really means something to someone.
Yeah.
It's so much nicer because, like, you know for a fact they're going to cherish that forever.
Yeah.
And it'll be like one of these pieces.
So
And
nerve wracking, I suppose.
Yeah. It is. It's nerve wracking, but it's so worth it.
Yeah, so much more satisfying.
Yeah,
because it means so much.
yeah. 100%.
So you've got your jewellery,
Yep.
sentimental. You've made pieces for yourself as well. But what would be your ultimate piece that you would make? Say for yourself. What would be the most amazing thing that you would make for yourself?
I really want to do some. I want to set a skeleton Cartier watch Yeah, but I want to, you know, set in the inside, set in the face and but the skeleton kite ears don't have any backing to the face. It's just you see straight through. It's the numbers of the Roman numerals in metal. But yeah, so you can set all along those and it looks crazy, but more so just as a job to do. It's just something that I think could be great fun. I iced out a Casio. That was a good fun one. That was on the first, like, that might have been the first bit of Parve I did, I think. Like, properly, other than, like, some little practice squares. And that was great fun. I thought it'd be funny to ice out a watch, and I was like, well, I'll ice out a Casio. I don't know if I've seen anyone do that. But I think, yeah, just as a project, it's something that I really enjoy the setting, but mapping out something like that, making it look perfect, really having the time to actually sit down and get it, and like measure everything up, make sure like do everything the way it's meant to be done. That's kind of my dream job, but it's almost never the case. Is that, you know, you have time constraints and you have a client usually barking down your neck going, I need it done by this day, I need this, I need that, and you know, you can never take as much time as you would like to take on a piece, but that's just
That
the
would
job.
be the ideal piece.
Yeah, but that would be my ideal.
We'll have to keep watching them, won't we?
Yeah.
Keep an eye on your socials.
Coming soon.
So how do you stay up to date with everything that's going on in the jewellery world?
I'm quite lucky to be based in and around the jewellery quarter. That is basically my main source of making sure I know roughly what's going on. Uni has also been an amazing help with that because, well, you're kept in the loop whether you like it or not. But outside of that, I'm not so great at like reading publications, things like that. I do try to, like, here and there when there's important things going on, or I tend to be a lot more clued in when it comes to like the diamond industry specifically. But I find that really interesting, like as a market, and so yeah. But tools, things like that, it's when you're in the quarter and you're just surrounded by tools all day,
access to
every day.
everything,
Yeah, exactly. And there's always, so if I don't know something, I walk in and someone's talking about it, and it's, you know, you get a pretty good word of mouth.
Yeah.
There you go. Word of mouth is the answer to that question.
And social media, I guess.
Yeah,
as well.
social media.
But
yeah.
then also, I suppose it's difficult to know what's good advice and what's bad advice on social media.
Yeah,
so that's the
yeah,
trouble.
yeah. No, 100%.
So what would your typical day be like? Take us through from the moment you wake up to when you go to bed.
Okay, so I tend to I tend to run my errands first thing in the morning. I'll get up and I'll go into the quarter. I'll go deliver pieces, go to the post office. I'll collect castings. I deal with the people whose hours are based 9 to 5. That's what I do from 9 to 5. Second I get back in from doing all the other bits I need to do that aren't sitting at a bench, I'm then at a bench till whatever time I decide I need to get off the bench. So I'll go out, run my errands, get castings, come back, and I'll be sitting there setting most of the time. Occasionally, I spend probably about 20% of my time doing like goldsmithing, cleaning up, and the rest of my time is spent setting at the scope. Whether it's trade pieces or my own work, I do everything really. It is nice, yeah, to have like the variety, and it's nice to be able to just come back in the evening and just mash out a load of work, because no one is going to interrupt me then. I'm not going to have phone calls and clients barking down on it. I'll be sitting there, it'll be 11 o'clock at night, but I'm having a great time. I'm just putting stones in metal and no interruptions. It's great.
So how do you fit learning in with all of this working and practicing?
I started in a bit of a weird way. Like, I started my business from putting a post out on my story, and I was like, I want to be a jeweler. This was the 3 weeks before I started uni. So I was like, I want to be a jeweler. I know I'm not a jeweler. I'll make you anything you want at cost price. I will try. Like, I was like, I'll do my best. And just a couple of my mates had enough faith in me to let me try and do some stuff. And so I kind of just made a few pieces, and I was just like, well, this is how I'll get started, and started the business that way. But so I kind of learned initially off of those first small orders, and then it was once I went to the uni, having that. Well, I was at the uni for 2 years, so having that 2 years of just free time to kind of, you just do whatever you like, but obviously you're getting your student loans, you're kind of getting paid for it. That's, okay, you're looping back to the higher education thing. It's the only time you're going to have 2, maybe 3 years to do whatever you want to do. Like, genuinely, whether you go afterwards, whether you go work for a company or work for yourself, you're going to be doing like, you have obligations. You have to get these orders done, or you're going to lose your business, like or your reputation. When you're at uni, you're just at uni. You can make what you want to make. You can make a pair of shoes out of copper if you wanted to. Like, it doesn't matter. You can do whatever you like, and you will not have that time anywhere else. So that was really probably the biggest benefit to the uni and stuff, is I had the time to learn. It wasn't just.
That's a good way to look at it.
Trying,
And the freedom, I guess.
Yeah.
I'd say it's the freedom to do what you want.
Yeah, no, it is, and you really just don't have that choice. As much as working for yourself, you've got the freedom. It's only so much freedom. Whereas being at uni, you can just do whatever you like whenever you want. It's great.
Great life, great life.
Yeah.
So if there's one thing that you could change in the industry, and it can be literally anything at all, what
With
one
a magic
thing?
wand.
Yeah, what one thing would you change?
Put a lot of thought into this, right? And it's a bit of a complex answer, but the one thing that I don't like about this industry is that the inability to access education, right? You've got the YouTube channels like yourselves, but once it comes to say when it comes to me wanting to learn stone setting, right? It's either I ship myself off to Antwerp for 3 months and I pay unfathomable amounts of money to learn how to be a stone setter, or I try and learn it on my own from watching other people just setting, or like there's no real easy route to these things.
The specialists.
Well, yeah, and
things.
yeah, and the main thing is the way it impacts like universities, right? So there is no reason for any, say, high-end stone setter to go work at a university, because they couldn't pay them enough if they tried. Genuinely, they couldn't. And because jewellery is such a lucrative industry, it means that the teachers are not the people at the top of that industry, because they would make too much money to justify teaching. And that's probably the only thing I'd change. But at the same time, I wouldn't change it, because ideally one day I want to be there. But that's my thing that I'd change is, it's difficult because of the amount of money people make in this industry. It's difficult to learn from those people.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Because I've often fancied, because I've gone around quite a few trade shows with Durston, and I've gone to wherever it is, and I can't really remember his name now, but he's in St. Petersburg in Russia.
Oh yeah, there's a setting school over there. I've seen a lot of videos and stuff.
And he said, come on over. And you think, yeah, I can do that, but it's again, this is the thing, it's time. If I'm not here, I'm not making money. And I'd love to go and spend like a week or 2 weeks doing what you do under a scope and learn to do everything that way.
Yeah.
But I just can't do it. Yeah.
Nobody does your job when you're not here.
No, exactly right. Yeah.
It's that whole thing of like, I'm my business. Yeah. There is no one else. I'm not paying someone else to do it for me. I can't take the time out to just go. Like, that's the other thing is 3 months. It's like, that'd be 3 months of me not getting paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like it's an amazing course, and I would kill to be on it. But figuring out all it just doesn't add up.
No one's going to pay you.
Exactly. So it's just figuring that out.
If you could go back in time,
Yeah.
what advice would you give your younger self?
He is young.
If you could go back to the start of this journey, what advice would you give yourself?
I just tell myself to start sooner, and to be honest, I think the main thing, I'm actually quite glad of how I approached things from the start. I didn't, as much as people would tell me to slow down and not do certain things, I did them anyway, and I'm so glad I did. But I'd probably go back and just tell myself that's the right thing to do, because to be honest, it was with a lot of uncertainty. It was a lot of, I'll do this, thinking like that with that idea of my portfolio is the only thing that matters. That's what will get me there. Like if 2 years ago I could see where I'm at now, I would be like, right, I'm doing this. Like, I'm definitely doing what I'm doing right now. But the whole time it's been this constant battle between like, I don't even know if I'm doing the right thing. Am I shooting myself in the foot? Like, but yeah, as soon as like that would be the one thing. It's like just kind of affirming it, being like, look, just
Tell yourself you're doing it right.
Yeah, just keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
So that'll be the thing. Yeah.
So how do you see your work and your career evolving?
So, I do tend to think I try to think very long term when it comes to my business and how I want to run things and the kind of business I want to have one day. The example I always use is I want a company to the likes of like Stephen Webster, right? It's a company built off of his work initially and his initial designs and all that stuff. It was his name, and then one day I want it to grow to a point where I have designers that work for me and I have jewelers that work for me and stone sets that work for me. But my goal is that all of those initial pieces, though, like the first time that piece gets like shown to the public, that piece will be the piece that I made. Like I will make that piece in the workshop. Like I can't sell a piece or someone else's design unless I could make it, because where's the longevity in being a middleman?
Yeah.
Right? Like there is no. Once you've established your brand and once you've established your name, fair enough, you can do what you like. But what differentiates me from every other person that uses their craftsmen and their setters? No, they're not. They're using people like me. They come to people like me and I make their jewellery for them. I'm like, God knows how many people are wearing my jewellery out there. They didn't buy it from me, but it's my jewellery. I made it. I want to make sure that I build my brand off of my work and my name. I feel like it's got that, like I said, that element of longevity to it, and that's kind of my dream is have that set up, and
Good dream. Good dream to have.
fingers crossed one day. Knock on wood.
So, do you think there could be better support for learners and people in roles such as yours in the industry?
Yeah, I do, but I also, on the flip side, I don't have a better solution for how it should be done. Because it's like I was saying earlier with the universities, things like that, they've only got so much time. It's easy to say like, oh yeah, you should be looking over my shoulder 24/7, da 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 da. And that is the attitude I had first year, by the way. Like I was very much like, look, you should be looking over my shoulder, you should be telling me when I'm doing something wrong. There's always ways that people can improve teaching, regardless of where you're at. But generally, I don't know what. I don't have like a point to say like this is what should be done, because it's a trade. It's hard to teach someone how to do something. You're trying to teach them how to do something with their hands.
Yeah.
It's not figuring something out in your head. It's like either you're gonna get it or you're not, and it's really hard to get that across to someone without them wanting to do it. And that's the worst thing, is when you've got someone that isn't really like all in on it. Like there's all these people that I went to uni with that, they love the course, but I realised very quickly they don't want to be a jeweller the same way I want to be a jeweller. They just like making stuff.
Yeah.
And taking it to that level, it's just something else.
Don't have the same aspirations
Yeah,
that you do. Yeah.
Well, and you need to have that, really. I think to get to that point in jewellery where you're making perfect jewellery, you kind of have to.
Do you think that you have to, well, you've already said that you have to do it wrong first
Yeah.
as well, and
Yeah.
see that it's wrong, and then you know what to do the next
100%,
time. So
yeah.
maybe that's part of the strategy
Yeah,
of teaching, is
yeah.
just let them do it wrong.
Yeah, I think...
And then they'll learn more than just being told.
You
in
know
the first
what? I think
place.
actually it's kind of... Okay, I've got a better answer to your question.
Okay.
Is that... Okay, we never went back over anything, ever. It's something that I asked outright at uni whether or not we could, right? So when we made those 3 rings, right? When I made those 3 rings, that wasn't my first time making and resizing a ring. So I was like, oh my God, look how much quicker I am now when I did this. I was like, and I could even see when I had the other students that, took their time, I could see, I was like, oh my God, look, me having practiced this, I was like, I'm getting better at this. I was like, I'm doing better than them. I was like, it's that little bit of motivation, right?
Yeah.
We never went back to do some of the stuff that we did before. And it's like, so you never see the comparison point of, oh yeah, this took me a whole week when I started uni, and now I did it in a day, or I did it in an hour, or we never kind of got to see that. And I think that actually going back over what you did, say if you were on an apprenticeship for 5 years, imagine your master tells you, right, we're going to do exactly what we did on the first day, on the last day of your apprenticeship. You're going to be mind blown at how good you are at making jewellery.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the bit that kept me going, was when I would do things. Okay, I made my first tennis bracelet, and a few months later I decided to make another one, just because I was looking at it, I was like, this kind of looks shit. Oh, this is not good. So I was like, I've made another one, And I was like, well, day and night. It was two completely different pieces, and I was like, oh my god, this is what 3 months of work has done. I was like, I haven't been making tennis bracelets this whole time, but
It's the movement. You don't have to think half the time about picking up which pliers. It all comes together. It all works right.
Muscle memory.
You know how to solder. You know how to get the joints right. You know how to bend the
Exactly.
metal. Everything flows, and it happens subconsciously.
yeah, it's kind of like a, you know, when people ask me how I learnt Pave, because I know when at uni people try it a lot, and they really struggle when they're looking under the scope, and it's like you're looking at this maze, right? I compare it to driving and learning to drive. When you're learning to drive, you're thinking about, oh, the clutch, the accelerator, you're thinking about every little movement, and eventually you just watch yourself driving, right? Like, just drive to Wales, just gonna watch myself on the motorway for a bit, right? That's basically what you're doing.
Yeah.
When I'm setting, I just watch myself do it now. It's muscle memory. It's that aspect of like you build the muscle memory, but no one can tell you that's what's going on, and you can't. You're not going to see that after a day. You're going to have a day of not being able to get a joint solder and it being the most frustrating thing on the planet, and you're never going to want to touch it again. But next time you come and sit down, you're going to be like, oh my god, this is the easiest thing ever.
Yeah.
But if you give up at that point of like this was difficult, you're just going to hit a brick wall.
Yeah, you're never going to improve then, are you?
Yeah.
So thanks a million, Chris, for coming and having a chat to us. It's been really, really insightful. And
It's been my pleasure.
No, it's been amazing. You really do have a vision. You know where you've come from, you know where you are today, and you've got a vision. And I think you've got all the right knowledge, and you are going to get to where you want to get. I'm pretty
absolutely.
sure of it.
And it's your attitude as well, I think, has contributed massively to your success.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure.
Oh, it's
pleasure.
pleasure's all mine. Genuinely, I've had a great time, and I thank you guys.
You're more than welcome. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you.